Horror movie franchises are almost as unkillable as their villains when you look at the length of their runs, and will come back from the dead time and time again until the holy lance of bad profit margins takes them down for good. With an unstoppable habit of churning out sequels, it is only natural that some of the horror world's most famous franchises have deviated from the formula from time to time. From experimental changes to settings and themes, to ambitious structural changes that didn't quite have the legs to keep going forward. There are plenty of black sheep hiding in plain sight. That doesn't mean a little misfit movie here and there is a bad thing, of course, as these 10 deviant choices prove. Whether they're a breath of fresh air or a weird growth on the back of a solid formula, these are the films that flipped their franchise and did something entirely unexpected. I am the pink and fluffy Ash from WhatCulture Horror, and these are 10 horror movie sequels that don't fit their franchise. 10. Seed of Chucky. When it comes to the escapades of a possessed killer doll, there is a certain amount of reality that needs to be let go of to really take in the charms of the Child's Play series. And despite the wonderfully bizarre premise, most of the Child's Play series does actually follow a pretty set formula. Don Mancini's influence and direction, at least up until the 2019 film, has kept the series on a pretty consistent level since its beginnings in 1988. Then there's 2004's Seed of Chucky, a complete enigma of a film. 1998's Bride of Chucky was the first example of the series really beginning its journey towards meta-heavy comedy. But Seed really found a way of standing out as unlike anything else that had come before. The film follows Chucky, Tiffany, and their son Glenn. The film features ultra-meta cameos from Jennifer Tilly, bizarre questions surrounding identity and acceptance, and even finds a time with a little Britney Spears kill. You can really have it all with Child's Play. 9. American Psycho 2. American Psycho 2 not only doesn't fit in with its predecessor in terms of storyline and tone, but it really doesn't fit in terms of overall quality much either. American Psycho is an almost satirical assessment of modern-day consumerism, shown through the eyes of sadistic serial killer Patrick Bateman. The film revolves around Bateman's uncontrollable lust for order, perfection, and a need to climb to the top by any means necessary, all of which culminates in his brutal killing spree being unleashed. American Psycho 2, though, is a black comedy sequel that fails to be funny in the slightest, and shares nothing with the first film except for the title and a shoehorned-in reference to Patrick here and there. The film follows Mila Kunis's Rachel Newman, a psychopath in the making who goes around killing her classmates, teachers, and friends in an attempt to better understand the world of serial killers. The film wasn't initially written to have anything to do with American Psycho, and honestly, it would have been better for everyone if it had stayed that way. 8. Jigsaw. A series that helped revolutionize the world of horror and opened up the bloody gates to torture porn and body horror, the Saw franchise has become one of the most infamous franchises in modern cinema. 2017's Jigsaw, however, is a reboot, sequel, and prequel to the Saw franchise and really stands out when put next to the 7 main films that came before it. The film still follows the Saw-branded twists, flashbacks, and 2 separate plot lines for victims and police. But the upgraded technology, well-crafted direction, and polished look to the film really doesn't help to make this feel like another inclusion to the franchise. 2021's Spiral could help Jigsaw look a bit more natural and join together these 2 universes. However, for the time being, Jigsaw will continue to be Saw's odd one out. Still a great movie though, and works well as an update for what we grew up on. 7. Hellraiser Hellworld. With its sadistic army of Cenobites and array of supernatural and sci-fi imagery, the Hellraiser series has established itself as one of the most infamous franchises in the world of horror. Most of the films are dark, gritty, and contain a level of body horror that franchises like Saw could only wish of owning. And whilst it's true that all of the chains and leather are definitely best left in your recluse neighbour's bedroom, and the franchise has been routinely let down by poor writing and small budgets, it is the familiar formula that has made Hellraiser so iconic. However, that changes in Hellworld, the 8th film in the series. Drawing upon the likes of Scream, The Ring, and even Halloween Resurrection, Hellworld sets up a world where the infamy of the Hellraiser films has led to the creation of an MMORPG game and is far more digital and layered, with plenty of twists and turns along the way. Not saying it's any good, but it certainly is different. 6. Jason X. The Friday the 13th series contains more films than any other franchise in the world of horror, which naturally means it has dabbled in more experimental releases than most. From Part 5's New Beginning that features a whodunit aspect and new killer, to Part 9's strange story based around possession and the Voorhees legend. It has been a wild ride for Jason and Camp Crystal Lake. Jason X, however, is a film so bizarre that it would stand out like a sore thumb in any franchise. Released in 2002, 9 years after Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X goes out of its way to distance itself from the slasher classic tropes of teenagers going to a secluded place and being picked off one by one. Set primarily in the year 2455 on board the futuristic Grendel spaceship, Jason X features everything from wacky costumes to a whole host of corny puns to a storyline so outlandish that most fans of the franchise still can't decide whether the filmmakers were genuinely trying or trolling. I say, who cares? Jason in space is a concept we can all get behind. 5. Unfriended Dark Web. Love it or hate it, the Unfriended franchise possesses one of the most innovative premises in the horror world, and is a reminder that there are still fresh ideas coming out of the industry. Unfriended Dark Web was released in 2018 as a sequel, however, has absolutely nothing to do with the tone or continuity of the first film. None of the characters have any relation to the original, and the horror switches up from a supernatural entity to a group of underground cyber hackers. Though most of the action still takes place from the perspective of a computer during a Skype call, the filmmakers make Dark Web stand out even more from its predecessor with up to 4 different endings to choose from, and a series of weird glitchy effects that follow the mysterious hackers around whenever they're on screen. Dark Web sure is a different film to the original, so for those audiences who weren't a fan of Unfriended, it could be a more grounded, enjoyable ride. 4. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. One of the absolute slasher classics, Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre is infamous, influential, and a cinema great. Since then, the series has mainly been a cash grab for whoever has owned the rights, with several remakes, reboots, prequels, fresh universes, and different backstories all churned out over the years, all which follow pretty much the same formula as the first film. One film that has consistently been overlooked, however, is Tobe Hooper's initial follow-up to the first film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, released in 1986. Whilst Leatherface and Drayton Sawyer both return in the film, Texas Chainsaw 2 is really nothing like any other film in the franchise. Tobe Hooper decided that he wanted to focus much more on black comedy than outright horror, and the film is constantly flying from one bizarre scene to another. The poster for the film is even a photo of the Sawyer family recreating the iconic Breakfast Club pose. Now what's all that about then, eh? 3. The Strangers Pray at Night. Based on a true story and influenced by everyone's worst fears, the film follows a couple being harassed by 3 home invaders. Although it made a real splash with audiences and netted a cool $82.4 million at the box office, it would take a whole decade for a sequel to be made. When it did come, The Strangers Pray at Night was a very different type of film, subbing out the tension and atmosphere for what is essentially a homage to the neon lights, synth-heavy music, and slasher films of the 80s. The confines of one household are expanded to an entire caravan park, and the number of protagonists is doubled down from 2 to 4 in Pray at Night to create what is essentially an action-driven slasher movie. The Man in the Mask, Pin-Up Girl, and Dollface are all given significantly more screen time in Pray at Night too, escaping from out of the shadows and engaging the main family in some pretty memorable sequences. Still, I can't help but say it's a little disappointing considering just how gripping the first movie was that this one fell into the nostalgia trap of recent years, to be honest. 2. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddys Revenge. When Wes Craven first brought Freddy Krueger to life in 1984, New Line Cinema knew they were onto a winner, and had a sequel, Freddys Revenge, released less than a year later in November 1985. However, even before production of Freddys Revenge began, it was clear the second film in the series was going to have a couple of things different about it. Both initial scripts for the film, written by Leslie Boehm and David Chaskin, made the drastic decision to introduce a possession-based element to Freddy Krueger's reintroduction. It's also one of the few Krueger films that original creator Wes Craven straight up rejected. On top of Krueger's attempted possession of main man Jesse in the film, Freddys Revenge also stands out in the series for featuring a much darker, fedora-wearing killer, and some pretty obvious homoerotic subtext sprinkled in throughout. The wild, outlandish, and imaginative dream sequences that would dominate the franchise in the mid-80s are also absent in Freddys Revenge, instead subbing in a couple of scenes of this finger-knifed killer slashing up some teens around a swimming pool. Jason Voorhees really would be proud. 1. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Going down in horror movie history famously as the only Halloween film not to feature Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, Samuel Loomis, or any of the continuity from the rest of the series, Season of the Witch follows the very different storyline of an evil cult and their devious plan to kill children using a variety of Halloween masks. When John Carpenter and Deborah Hill first developed the original story of Halloween, they wanted to create an anthology of individual films set around the Halloween season, with Season of the Witch kicking this trend off. Season of the Witch features no goofy bedsheet tricks, no crazy final girl circuits, and no boogeymen going for it, but the film is probably better than most people give it credit for. Give it a chance, guys. Just ignore the Halloween title and embrace its goofy scares. And that's our list. What other sequels don't fit with their horror franchise? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash over on social media at Ash Millman, and this has been WhatCulture Horror. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon for some more spine-tingling horror content. Thanks for watching.